righteous, defined by Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is acting in accord with divine or moral law, free from guilt or sin. This definition is widely accepted as the meaning of what it means to be righteous. But righteousness can also come in many forms and hold many different meanings for others.
Bourgeois and Schoenberg, in their ethnography titled Righteous Dopefiend, begin with a quote from one of the men they've interviewed, stating that there is nothing righteous about dope fiends. They're assholes. They'll screw you. There is nothing enjoyable about this life. In Chapter 3 of the ethnography, Righteous Dopefiend, titled A Community of Addicted Bodies, Bourgeois and Schoenberg are looking to provide an introspective into the lives of heroin addicts and their beliefs.
These addicts, caught in the deadly cycle of collecting money, scoring heroin, shooting heroin, repeat. This unhealthy cycle has only one priority: preventing withdrawal.
Bourgeois and Schoenberg outline the shared experiences of addiction, solidarity, and survival of the addicts, and the morality behind the community of heroin addicts.
The righteousness that occurs within the community comes in the biggest form of sharing heroin. The morality of continuing the cycle of abuse to prevent dope sickness is seen as a better alternative than facing the symptoms of withdrawal.
The righteousness seen when sharing heroin with others is seen as respectable within the community, as preventing dope sickness in another means that in the future they would be inclined to share with you. Reciprocity within the heroin community means that these addicts build a mutual trust and a sense of solidarity between running partners. Running partners are an essential part of the heroin community, as the trust that is built between these addicts has kept many of them alive.
Trust in the community is also shown in addicts' minds with their belief in the freedom that they have. But this is not entirely true due to the interdependence of many addicts on one another to protect each other. Whether from outside conditions or even the drugs themselves, these addicts are still bound by their addiction. Although the community of addicts has built a mutual trust upon a system of reciprocity, there are still some divisions built by different determining factors, such as race or ethnicity.
In the heroin community, there are divisions surrounding race and morally correct ways of shooting heroin. The biggest point of contention in the ethnography comes from the ways that African American and white American addicts inject heroin into themselves. The African Americans in the ethnography use the method of finding suitable veins to inject heroin, while the white American addicts are more prone to using muscling, which involves directly injecting heroin into a muscle instead of the vein. Although it is mentioned in the ethnography that when African American heroin addicts were unable to find a suitable vein, either due to scarring or other issues, as a last resort, they would inject heroin directly into their muscles.
By highlighting the hypocrisy of these addicts, Bourgeois and Schoenberg provide a window into the logic of these addicts and how they've come to rationalize their addiction. By rationalizing muscling as a last resort, the addicts can look upon themselves as more morally correct or righteous. Heroin addicts and heroin addiction in the world have gained infamy, and these preconceived notions come back to harm the addicts. The interviewees in the ethnography have become accustomed to the different types of discrimination they face daily.
As addicts, the main subjects of the ethnography have become second-rate citizens when it comes to healthcare. Many of the hospitals in the surrounding area have deemed many of the addicts as frequent flyers, only in search of painkillers. Since the healthcare system labeled addicts as frequent flyers, many of the hospitals have given harsh treatments to addicts and even placed them lower on the treatment list.
In the chapter, we are given a look into one visit to the hospital by an addict. Many addicts would wait and endure the pain for weeks just to make sure that they're not turned away by the hospital. After enduring weeks of pain from abscesses, the addict is taken to the hospital by the ethnographic team, but still, the addict faces more issues in receiving help. Once arriving at the hospital, the addict isn't seen immediately, even though he is in excruciating pain, forced to wait outside due to his odor in the cold weather until he is seen.
Once the abscess is seen, the doctor needs to remove the abscess that was created by the multiple injections of heroin. But many doctors treat addicts with preconceived notions of them being druggies and have withheld painkillers or drugs to help reduce the pain during these operations. Although these conditions may seem harsh, the reason addicts waited so long to visit the hospital was to reduce the amount of time they needed to be within draw from heroin. And the moment they were released from the hospital, they immediately returned to using.
Also, this is where in the ethnography muscling comes back into play. Once the abscess is removed, the area where the abscess was removed from is now a prime location to inject heroin. This small story displays the exact struggle that faces the heroin community caught between the need to stave off dope sickness and the constant sickness that derives from combating dope sickness. This constant struggle plagues the heroin community and constantly keeps heroin addicts from recovering.
Burruel and Schoenberg in Chapter 3 of their ethnography, Righteous Dopefiends, are illustrating the community behind the heroin addicts and how their interdependence has contributed to the perpetuity of the addiction, as well as displaying the morality within the heroin addict community and how many try to rationalize their addictions. Finally, Burruel and Schoenberg highlight the structural violence that occurs within the surrounding heroin addict community. These addicts are in clear need of help, but unfortunately, many forces are working against these addicts.
Burruel and Schoenberg have shown that the quote in the beginning of their ethnography has been proven true within the 3rd chapter. There is nothing righteous about the way of life within addiction.